we're going to do an introduction to POTA. Just kind of something that we can all do. We can all get out there. Anyone that's got an HF rig that's a general can do POTA. So it's, but what is it? It's Parks on the Air. Okay, Parks on the Air is for international portable amateur radio operations that promote emergency awareness and communication from national, federal, and state or provincial level parks. So for POTA, unfortunately you can't go over here to Wilson Park because that's a city park, right? But it has to be a national or a state park. Or they also have state forests and national forests that are involved, wildlife refuges. So there's a whole list of different parks and areas where you can actually do POTA. Let's talk about the basics. What are the basics of POTA? What does it consist of? Well, first of all, it consists of activators. An activator is someone that takes their radio equipment, goes out to one of these parks, sets up their radio equipment within the park, and they start making contacts. So in order for a park to be activated, that activator needs to make a minimum of 10 contacts. So they get on the radio, they start calling CQ POTA, and they try to make as many contacts as they can. They make 10 contacts, that park is activated. Now I've heard some of these activators and they're saying, well, we're gonna wrap up the day now and we've got about 250 contacts. So some of those guys go out there and they just make a lot of contacts. So you got activators, they go out to the park. Well, that's one side of the equation. The other side of the equation are what is known as a hunter. Those are the people that might be in their home QTH, and they're listening for the CQ POTA. And then they try to reach out and they try to make contact with that person that is activating that park. And so as you hear somebody calling CQ POTA, you come back with your call sign, and you could end up in a whole big pileup. Everybody trying to hit them. But if you keep calling them back with your call sign, eventually they're going to get to you. As long as the band conditions are good, they'll get to you and they'll call back your call sign. And you basically will tell them, okay, this is N0JFY. I'm getting you at a 5.9 here into Minnesota, and they'll give you a signal report wherever they might be. And they can be anywhere. They can be coast to coast. They can be up in Canada. They can be over in Europe. So there's a lot of parks that can get activated this way. Okay, now if I can get this to work, this is just kind of an introductory video to how you can hunt with POTA.
Howdy folks, I'm Matt, N0JFY, and I'm here to help you get started with Parks on the Air, what might just be the best thing going in ham radio these days. Parks on the Air started in early 2017 by a group of volunteers who were trying to capitalize on the momentum from a highly successful special event run by the ARRL the year before called National Parks on the Air. It was wildly popular, lots of folks loved going out to the parks, but unfortunately at the end of that year the special event also came to an end. Beyond that, there are some other fun events in ham radio like Field Day and going on DXpeditions. So the organizers of POTA decided to take the best of the best and then even add to it where they could. One of the things the organizers added was accessibility. Whereas NPOTA was just the U.S. national parks, POTA has added national forests, state forests and parks, trails, and even expanded internationally to include folks from all over the world. But through all these additions and lofty goals, we've managed to remember that ham radio is, in the end, primarily a hobby. It is supposed to be fun. And so POTA is designed to be fun. In fact, it's designed to be whatever you want it to be. We've kept the program and the rules as absolutely simple as possible in order to give you as much flexibility as possible so that you can do POTA your way. And that simplicity shows up in the terminology. There are really only two things you need to know to participate in POTA. The first one of those terms is the activator. This is the ham who's going to pack up their portable stuff and actually go to the park and set up a station. Now, while being an activator is great fun, and honestly, parks on the air wouldn't work real well without somebody in the park, most of us started out as, and still spend a lot of time, hunting. That's the other term you need to know. If you are the person working from home, or from your mobile shack, or from the International Space Station, or your hotel room via remote control, whatever it is that is your setup for doing ham radio day to day is the setup you would use to hunt. So fundamentally, you can see how this works out. If you're the activator in the park, you want to talk to as many people as possible. Mostly those are going to be hunters. They don't have to be. You can talk to anybody. And then clearly, if you're hunting parks from home, your goal is to talk to as many different activators as many different times as possible. Now, most of us got our start in POTA as hunters, and the good news is that couldn't be much simpler. Beginning with the rules, there really aren't any. Well, there aren't any POTA-specific rules anyway. You still have to follow the law, Part 97 in the US, or whatever the law is in your neck of the woods. And we do have certain behavioral expectations. You'll get to run through the details of this when you go through the new user sign up. But by and large, it's pretty straightforward stuff. Follow the golden rule. Don't talk on top of other people. Don't tune up in the middle of the pileup, and you're going to be fine. Assuming you can live with those terms and conditions, your very first stop is going to be the POTA.app webpage. Do note that this is a web page. Don't let the .app app domain designator fool you. You're going to go here using whatever your favorite browser is, even on a mobile platform. Don't look for this in the App Store. It's not there. The homepage for POTA.app is the spotting page. These tiles show you the activators that are out in the park right now. You could turn on your radio, spin the VFO. If you can hear them, you can work them. And guess what? You just started POTA. You just hunted your first park. That's really all there is to it. I'm going to strongly suggest, though, that since you're here, go ahead and hit that sign up button. You're going to want an account in the POTA system to track all of your stats and your progress. And again, it's the sign up process that'll walk you through dotting the I's and crossing the T's on things like the DX Code of Conduct, just to make sure you know them all. Now, there's a whole other video on navigating and using the POTA.app site, so we're not going to get into that now. But I did also want to call your attention to the menu icon. We call it the hamburger icon, to the left of the POTA logo, top left of the page. Clicking on this will bring up the menu of all the things you can access through the POTA.app page. It's really the gateway to everything that POTA has to offer, so feel free to poke around and see what's there. After you've gotten your feet wet hunting a few parks, you may want to try your hand at going out and activating. As I said before, activating is a blast, but don't feel like you have to do this. The vast majority of the people participating in POTA are solely hunters, and that's fine, because the activators need hunters. Otherwise, there's no point in going to the park. The good news on the rules front continues once you jump into the activating space. There still aren't that many, and they're still pretty simple. The idea of signing up for an account over at POTA.app, no longer optional. Activators are expected to submit logs from their activations. This is how we track everything. As a hunter, you don't have to submit anything. It all comes from the activators. So you are going to need an account to do that. And maybe it goes without saying, but you also have to go to the park. You can't activate a park from your backyard. You actually have to go. Really, the most important set of rules for activators is that we expect you to be good ambassadors for our radio sport. You are using a shared public space, shared with people who think ham radio went the way of the dodo bird 50 years ago. This is our chance to correct that perception and do a lot of good for ham radio. But it only works if we're good public citizens. If we recognize that we're in a shared space, not everybody wants to trip over coax or hear an argument with the ranger or listen to a generator. You get what I'm saying. Follow the hiker's creed, leave no trace, follow the golden rule, do unto others, and odds are you're going to be a shining beacon of all the fun that ham radio can be. Believe it or not, that's the bulk of what you need to know to participate in POTA. Let's put it all together and live a day in the life of an activator and a hunter. So our buddy Steve here has decided that he wants to go out and do a POTA activation. His first step is to go to the POTA.app webpage and find a park to go to. Probably going to use the map to do this. If you have location services turned on, it'll auto-center on your location and show you a yellow dot for every park that's in your vicinity. Now, do note these yellow dots are sort of approximate. Check official sources to find out where the boundaries of the park are. And no, you don't have to be sitting exactly where the yellow dot is. When he gets to his chosen park and gets his station set up, he's going to go back to the POTA.app webpage and he's going to self-spot. POTA is not a contest. It's a special event. Self-spotting is not only allowed, it's encouraged. However, you hunters out there, remember that lots of parks don't have good cell service. So don't forget to spin the VFO and listen for people calling CQ like we used to. And speaking of calling CQ, that's going to be Steve's next move. He's on the spotting page, he's at the park, time for CQ POTA, and wait for the hunters to arrive. The hunters are also watching the spotting page at POTA.app. They'll see Steve's spot pop up as a new one, spin their VFO, and when he gets to an appropriate break in his transmission, like he just finished calling CQ or he called QRZ, that's when the pileup happens. All the hunters will throw their call sign into the ring, trying to be the next one to make it into Steve's log. Now, don't despair if your call sign wasn't picked. Wait for the next CQ or QRZ and try again. The activators want to work as many stations as possible, and they'll stay there as long as they can to try and get you in their log. At some point, the activator will have to call QRT and go home. That's where they will organize their logs and export them into a file format called ADI, Amateur Data Interchange, which will get submitted to the Parks on the Air system. This submission process is how all the information about QSOs gets into the back-end database, driving the statistics pages and the entire award system. Note that it's based entirely on the activators submitting logs. As a hunter, all you have to do is make QSOs. Most hunters do log for themselves, but there's nothing for you to submit to POTA as a hunter. Once all those log submissions are crunched, the resulting stats and awards will show up back on the POTA.app webpage. Do be patient, though. The submission process involves a couple of manual steps done by regional coordinators, at least for now. So it could take up to a month, but your stats will eventually show up on the dashboard. So congratulations, you've just completed POTA 101. See, I told you it wouldn't be that bad. Go ahead and take your next step. Navigate your browser over to POTA.app and click on that sign up button so you can start having fun with the rest of us. Now, one other thing you might want to check out while you're there is under the infamous hamburger menu, and it's all the way down at the bottom of the list. If you click on the Community Resources tab, you'll be taken to a page which has links to most of the other help getting started or just getting to know you Parks on the Air resources. There's more training material in both video and PDF format, and the links to our two very active and very friendly social communities are there. So if you do either Slack or Facebook, follow those links and join our groups. You'll find a great community of people who are more than happy to help you. 7-3, and I'll catch you on the spotting page.
Okay, so as he mentioned in the website or in the video, there's ways to track our progress. As a hunter, you don't have to do anything. You sign up for a POTA account, make contacts, and then they automatically log it for you. This is just a snapshot of what I've done. As you can see, I've activated absolutely no parks. I have not gone out and activated a park. I'm excited to go out and do that, but I'm excited to do that when it's above 0 degrees. I'm just a little wimpy. But anyway, so once the weather improves, I plan on going out and trying my hand at doing some activations. But I've done a little bit of hunting. I've got about 183 parks that I've hit, separate parks. And the states that are green, those are the ones that I've hit, all from my basement, right? And there's some that as I start seeing these, are some that I want to go after, to catch those. So I'll look for activators that might be sitting in Missouri or Mississippi, and try to get those contacts. So you get this kind of information off of their website, and you can get some awards. Starts out, the first award is working 10 different units. Then you get another award when you've worked 25, and so forth. And you get, Randy, how many awards have you gotten? You're up to about 2,000? 600. So Randy's worked a lot of stations, and he does a lot of CQ. CW. He does a lot of CW. And so you can do it on all kinds of stuff. You can do it on upper sideband, phone, voice. You can do it on FT8. So you can do it on all kinds of different things. Whatever that activator is doing, you can hit him. And so it can be a lot of fun. On their website, it also gives you some other statistics. This gives you what states you have hit, how many parks are in that state, and how many of those parks you've actually hit. So my greatest one is the District of Columbia. They have 30 separate parks, and I've hit 3 of them. So I've got 10% of DC. And it's all with one guy that activated, and he was bouncing from park to park during one day. So I hit him 3 times at different parks during that day. But you can see that, it gives you all kinds of fun information.
So that website tells you which parks are valid, which parks are valid.
Yes. On the website, there is a map. And if you have your location set up on your computer, it'll pull up that map of the stuff right around us, and it'll show you which parks are valid parks here. But when you go to, if you're hunting, if you go to the website, it'll show you who's active and which parks they're working at, and it'll show you what frequency they're actually working on. So you can just spin your VFO to that frequency and listen for them.
So when you activate, they activate the program, and that activates that park, and then everybody on the computer at that time can see it.
Yeah, and what they'll do is as he said, you can self-spot. What they'll do is they'll self-spot saying, hey, I'm at park K2493, which is, Mississippi Wildlife Refuge or whatever it might be, right? And it'll say that's where they're at, and I'm on 14.274. So you go to 14.274 and you listen for this fella, and he's got his call sign out there in that spot, so you know who you're listening for, and he'll be calling CQ. This is N0JFY, and you go on and you try to make contacts with him. Great questions. So if you want to get involved, what do you have to do? First thing to do, I would go to the website, go to parksontheair.com. I know he talked about the app. That's where the spotting information is. If you go to parksontheair.com, it gives you everything. It gives you the login information. It gives you the hamburger stuff that he was talking about, the menu stuff. So that's where I would go, is parksontheair.com. And I would click on the Help Getting Started link at the top of the web page. They have some pretty good information in there. They've got all the videos in there, as well as how to sign up. Then I would sign up for POTA and review the links and the video and the links. I've found them to be very helpful. And then go hunting and try activating when the weather gets warmer. If you're a diehard, you can do it in the middle of the winter. There are those that do. I've found that there's less people in the northern states this time of year than there are in the southern states. But you get into the summer, the northern states really open up as the weather improves. But you've got diehards that go out anyway. There's one fellow in Montana. He's out there all the time. And but the greatest thing is to have fun. This is a great hobby. This is an opportunity to make contacts and to have a lot of fun and to go out and enjoy it. And that's what I have for us this evening.
One more question.
You bet.
As an activator, are you limited on the amount of power you can use?
No.
So you can have 1,500 watts in the park?
If you can run it.
Okay.
One thing you will find is that a lot of the guys that go out and activate, they're using less power. And so if you can hear them, there's a real good chance that they can hear you. Rick, you got a question back there.
Yeah, how was the logging performed? Is that done solely by the activator?
Yes, yes. The logging is solely by the activator. So what will happen is the activator will keep their log of who's contacted them. They will have to submit the ADI, I think it's ADI or format, back to the Parks on the Air, and there's regional coordinators that they send those to. And then those regional coordinators upload them into the POTA site. And it's usually, I've found within 2-3 days, if I've hit somebody, it shows up on the POTA site. And it shows, you know, who I've contacted and gives a list of all the parks that I've hit.
So as a hunter, you can keep track of whether these guys logged you by the logs that they turn in.
Yeah, you can. And what I do is I usually, when I hit a park, I usually just write it down. I've got a log that I just keep.
Well, keep a paper log.
I keep a paper log and I put it into QRZ. So
I upload everything from N0JFY, whatever, the other program that we used, and it has the ability to log straight to LOTW.
okay.
So I just send them all up to LOTW. So when when the activator uploads his, he also uploads them to LOTW, and you end up
confirming that.
confirming, so you can get contacts in there as well.
Yep. True. All right.
Jeff, just one comment.
Yes, Randy.
Okay. The plan from the St. Cloud Amateur Radio Club, as we get into the warmer weather, we're going to go out and do some Parks on the Air activations. N0JFY does have a POTA set up, so we'll go out and make some contacts.
Yeah, exactly. So Randy set up the club with a sign-in for a club sign-in for POTA. So we can go out as a club and N0JFY can hit the POTAs and make contacts as well. It'll be a lot of fun.
Oh, it's going to be great fun. We'll make some, get some awards to put on the wall.
Yeah, and we got some parks that are not too far away from us.